Right then, I should have walked out of that place. But I couldn't make myself do it. She had me licked. And she knew it.
If you look at the history of cinema, high style is a visual shorthand for villainy.
Crime-based movies with great fashion. I mean, so many.
Crime and fashion always go together.
Connecting with the villain is part of enjoying the fantasy ride of watching a film. You love the excitement, the loot, the adventure.
People gravitate to whatever a criminal is wearing because their character is so generally charismatic.
Somebody who's dressed incredibly well. There's something scary about that.
The villains are often the best dressed ones in any film.
All crime has some kind of costume because somebody's pretending to be somebody else. Somebody's trying to heist or to somehow cleverly get from here to there.
The costuming in film noir, I consider the foundation for all of crime film.
Next time I'll come on stilts, wear a white tie and carry a tennis racket.
I doubt if even that would help.
The crime fashions that I love are the early Warner Brothers films. I'm fascinated by that transition period of 1929, 30, 31.
I'm telling you, they got us on the run. Not me. I ain't running. I ain't yelling. Who said you was?
The Public Enemy was foundational for film noir, and it certainly tells you the journey of the character through costume.
Do I look good to you?
Sure do.
I think a lot of people think that costume designers make very different decisions when it comes to designing for the villain versus the hero. But particularly when film noir came to be, so many of those characters were anti-heroes. The wardrobe does not immediately identify who's bad and who's good.
Don't forget what I told you. Plenty of room right there. Yeah, and remember, 6 buttons.
Costume design can be a very valuable tool when understanding a character's personality and motives.
Does a person wear color or do they not wear color? Are they wearing a lot of detail or are they not wearing a lot of details?
I'm always telling a story, and part of that is how wide are the pinstripes? How big is the collar? How big are those cufflinks?
Ted Nugent called. He wants his shirt back.
Differentiating between the good guy and the bad guy, or the good girl and the bad girl. Obviously, the villains are always the most exciting to dress.
An investment in fashion somehow reflects moral deterioration. And that is due in part to fashion's supposed proximity to vanity.
Somebody messes with me, I'm gonna mess with him.
I think the hero is often tasked with being the placeholder for the audience member, whereas the villain gets to be the other.
Costuming somebody who's full of goodness is really quite difficult, but a villain is so much easier because more often than not, the villains are vain.
When I'm working with a villain and costuming, I think of who does this person think they are? Who is that person trying to fool? What's their game?
Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is.
One of the important jobs that a costume has in a film is to visually communicate to an audience where there is no dialogue. Clothing is just so inextricably linked to identity, whether we want to project confidence or blend in or stand out.
Do you know me?
Well, I think I would have remembered.
There's also some amazing women in some of these crime movies that look incredible, like Faye Dunaway and Bonnie and Clyde.
What line of work you in? When you're not stealing cars.
The women are just as important.
The costume designers started to create wardrobes for the femme fatales that had an air of respectability about them. And so it was almost as if the costume designers were part of the con with these women.
Sometimes if they're the bad girl, you want to make them look very sweet. Jane Greer, I'm thinking Out of the Past, you know, she talks about good girl in the first half of the movie, bad girl in the second half of the movie.
But they hang you for a thing like
Oh,
that.
but not if we do it right, and you're smart, Frank. You'll think of a way. that men have.
The Postman Always Rings Twice has a lot of descendants, if you will. There are interesting white wardrobe choices in later films, like Angie Dickinson's in Dressed to Kill. Brian De Palma is absolutely referencing Lana Turner's nearly all white wardrobe. And the purpose of that is so that you do not know whether she's innocent or guilty, what her motivations are.
Maybe there's something wrong with me.
There's nothing wrong with you.
It's an interesting use of white in both The Untouchables and Dressed to Kill. I mean, Dressed to Kill, Angie Dickinson is the victim, and in The Untouchables, that character is the villain.
With Billy Drago, he's meant to stand out. He fancies himself a star in gangland.
I said that your friend died screaming like a stuck Irish pig.
I mean, essentially, they're both wearing white because there's going to be a lot of blood. The minute you see somebody dressed head to foot in white, there's going to be blood.
He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue.
The costume designer's role is to help create the character and make that character believable to the audience.
I've been practicing this speech a little bit. Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed. That was good. I liked it.
Jeffrey Kurland went through a lot of decisions when it came to creating the costumes for Ocean's 11.
What, did you guys get a group rate or something?
For George, really, you're not supposed to be rooting for him because he's technically the criminal.
What's the target? 8 figures each. What's the target? When was the last time you were in Vegas?
He doesn't often wear a tie. He's casual. He's always got the top button undone on his shirt, and he's smart blazers, but looking cool. He's sort of smart casual, whereas Andy Garcia is very, very considered.
Andy Garcia is so serious and so dressed up that you just want to smack him.
Congratulations, you're a dead man.
Quite often, it's a real fastidious dressing that is actually a little bit laughable.
So you're naturally drawn to the criminal and happy whatever happens to the victim.
The wardrobe in crime films is critically important, not only for the films that they're in, but the influence on popular culture.
You know, I often say with my actors, they do the inside work and I'll put an outside shell on it and try to indicate where they're coming from, how they feel about themselves, where they fit in the world.
So a highly skilled costume designer will be able to integrate all of those layers into a single cohesive visual representation of that character.
You can get these subtle messages of who these characters think they are and who they want to be.
And that, I think, is really the artistry when it comes to storytelling and costume design.